that's the consistency, right? It's the commitment saying, I'm going to do this because I said I was, especially when it's hard, even when it's hard. Podcast growth people, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Podcast Growth University, where we talk all things podcasting all the time. I hope you enjoyed the latest episode. We talked about finding and getting aligned guests. If you are a podcaster who wants to have guests, creating some sort of system to make it a little bit easier will always be valuable. Today, for episode number 21, the 3 words that created our podcast success. If you are listening to this, I put success in quotations. If you are watching this on YouTube, you have an understanding that I am not in the studio. Alan and I are in Wisconsin. We gave a speech to 1,100 kids and 65 faculty members the other day. Flight got canceled, and now we are staying here until we travel to Toronto to interview Evan Carmichael. So I am in a different space today. The sound will be a little bit different. The video will be a little bit worse than usual for sure, but consistency over everything. Okay, I like to break things down to the simplest form because that's how I like to learn and that's how I like to add value to the world. So I was thinking, what would be a valuable episode for Podcast Growth Nation? And I thought to myself, I want to make a very, very simple episode that probably seems too simple, but allows me to dive into these things a little bit. I think this will probably be a pretty quick episode. Number 1, because I feel terrible, and number 2, because I think I can make this land hopefully in a quick, timely manner. So, the 3 words that created our podcast success. Number 1, sustainability. What does that mean? Where you start is usually going to determine how long you do the thing for and where you ultimately end up. When I'm working with podcasters, the first thing I'm doing when I'm talking to them about equipment, when I'm talking to them about audio or video, when I'm talking to them about how often they're going to do their show, I'm trying to find the right sustainability point. I don't want it to be too easy where there's no challenge, but my big fear for most people is we're going to do something that's not sustainable. Yes, when you're super excited about something, it's easy to do an episode a week. Or maybe it's easy to do 2 episodes a week or 3 episodes a week. Maybe it's easy at that point. But this is the thing. When life happens, when you get busy, when priorities change, that's when it's a real challenge. So I would rather undershoot a little bit. I would rather give 80% of effort instead of 120 because you can always add more effort, but it's very hard to dial back the effort. If you start with 3 episodes a week, and then you drop down to 2 and you drop down to 1, what is that going to do to your self-worth? What is that going to do to your confidence? What is that going to do to your audience's confidence in you and your ability to show up? So when you're starting, and this goes with the other 2 words I'm going to use as well, but especially when you're starting or you're making a big decision with your podcast, make sure it's one that is really sustainable. And this is for everything, right? If you're somebody who wants to get in better shape, the last thing in the world you should do is go to the gym 7 times a week. You should go to the gym once a week for 10 minutes just to get the ball rolling. So sustainability, in my opinion, is the most important place to start because without sustainability, you can't do the other 2. So sustainability, what can you do to make sure that you're showing up in a sustainable way? Your goals are sustainable. Your systems are sustainable. Your effort is sustainable. The amount of excitement and disappointment is sustainable. That's a very, very important place to start. Now, again, we might do 7 episodes on our other show, and I might do an episode here a week, but I didn't start by doing 8 episodes a week. I started by doing 1, and when I was by myself in the beginning, I was definitely missing episodes. So if I started where I was today, I would never get to where I am today. Second word, and you've heard me say this, but I want to tie it together with the other 2. The second thing is consistency. When I am researching as a guest, the first thing I do, so when I'm a guest on somebody's show, the first thing that I do is I go look up their show and I go through Apple Podcasts and I say, okay, they dropped on the 7th and then they dropped on the 14th and then they dropped on the 21st and the 28th. When I start to see people miss, I already expect something different. And then when I talk to them on the podcast, I understand why they don't have the level of success that they want. It's a telltale sign if you're missing. This is another thing. I help people name their podcasts because Evidently, that's something I'm pretty good at, which is great, and I'm happy about that. I didn't realize that was a strength of mine. But somebody will come to me and they'll say, this is my idea. I'll come up with a name, and I'll say, well, let's just search to make sure that the name's not taken. We'll search, and we'll find the name. So let's just say it's, I don't know, Peak Mindset, something like that. We'll find 3, 4, 5 other podcasts that have the same exact name, except they quit a couple years ago, so they're not doing it anymore. So I just say, don't worry about it. As long as the name isn't copyrighted, you can use it, because if you just keep doing episodes, your show's going to show up before theirs anyway, and it's not really going to matter because they weren't consistent. When you're sustainable, you're creating something that's sustainable. That means you're able to keep up with the effort. You're able to keep up with the work. Then you can focus on, okay, I am able to do this. Now let me make sure I am doing it consistently. Make sure I'm showing up as often as I should. Now, it's not just on the podcast, though, because, again, I think of this podcast thing as kind of a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, where level 1 is you're doing the episodes. Awesome. Level 2 is you're doing the episodes and you're sharing on social media. Level 3 is you're doing the episodes, you're sharing on social media, and you're making connections on social media. You're nurturing your audience. Level 4 is all that in a Facebook group. Level 5 is all that, a Facebook group and a free event every month. When I'm saying, and this is the interesting thing, sustainability in the beginning is 1 episode a week. Then you focus on consistency there. Then sustainability is 1 episode a week and something else. Then you focus on consistency there. Then sustainability is 1 episode a week and 2 other things. You get my drift. A lot of people come to me and say, what does it take to be successful as a podcaster? And I literally tell them these 3 things, because if I tell you anything else, number 1, that's not the whole truth. I don't have a hack. I don't have a trick. It's what I'm telling you. And I always tell people that there's something that you can't account for, and that thing is time. So that's why the consistency is so important. If you can pair it with sustainability, you can be consistent for short spurts and you will not get the same results.
Hey, I wanted to give my experience working with Kevin and the rest of the Next Level University team. It has been such a seamless relationship. He is so easy to work with, Kevin, and he gives you all the information you need but doesn't overwhelm you. He's also meets you where you're at. So, if whatever you want to do, he'll make it work. And it's just, there's no stress, there's no drama. And everybody else that I've worked with has been patient with me because I am not technologically savvy. So they've been helpful and patient and just encouraging. And it's just been a fantastic experience. I highly, highly recommend working with them.
All right, the last one, number 3. So we have sustainability, we have consistency. The last one is improvement. I went on a show probably, a month or 2 ago, and this was a very rare time for me where the show I went on had more episodes than we did at Next Level University. And I remember thinking, this show is going to be awesome. This is going to be an awesome show. Then I did research, and I realized very quickly that, while this person has 1,600 plus episodes, they have not been focused on improvement. It might be sustainable for them to do what they're doing, and they're doing it consistently, but they haven't improved along the way. So this is the interesting thing. And again, I know this is fairly deep, but they probably started with 1 episode a week. They never got to the point where they were sustainably and consistently doing high quality content. So yeah, they might do 7 episodes a week, but are those 7 episodes really good? No, not necessarily, because they weren't focused on improvement. This really is the framework for all success. And I know it's very, very simple, but my goal is to give you something where, to give you something where you can check in. Okay, am I starting something that I'm not going to be able to do? It's not sustainable this time next month. And that's a great question for anything. If you're going to purchase a car, yeah, it might be $500 a month, and that might be cool for now. You might say, well, I don't have a house, my rent's cheap, I don't have a family yet. But if you're planning on starting a family in the next 2 years and you have a 5-year loan, that might not be a sustainable choice. So you got to think at just a little bit of a deeper level. The consistency, you're going to hear me say that so often, you're going to get sick of it. I'm literally in an Airbnb I have my laptop up on a plastic container so it's high enough where it will be over the microphone. The lighting is probably garbage because I can't control it. I'm using my travel webcam. My voice is very hoarse because I've been doing a lot of speaking, but I want to make sure I'm showing up consistently. The NLPS team is going to be very mad at me because I'm uploading this late, and worst case scenario, I will edit this and get it out and make sure it's there. But that's the consistency, right? It's the commitment saying I'm going to do this because I said I was, especially when it's hard, even when it's hard. And then the last one, just improvement. This is it for everything. If you have a relationship, you want to make sure you're improving it. If you have a home improvement. If you have goals, self-improvement, right? So at the end of the day, you want to get better, and you want the products to get better, and you want the interviews to get better and the sound to get better. I'm using the old microphone. This microphone is not as good as the ones that we have in our studio, but things changed. I was supposed to be home to record this, but flights got canceled and it's this whole thing. But luckily I had this, and I'm here, and we're going to do it. So at the end of the day, I do think we complicate things a lot, because most people, unless you have the fundamentals down, it almost doesn't matter what else you're going to do. So if you're not sustainable, if you're not consistent, and you're not focused on improvement, it doesn't matter if you run a Facebook ad and you get a bunch of eyes. I had a client do that. A client ran a Facebook ad and they 4x their listens from month to month, and then they stopped their show a few months after that. And that they lost all of that progress because they were not consistent. What they were doing wasn't sustainable. And they were focused on improvement, but I think they were improving in the wrong direction. So I wanted to jump on here today and give a quick episode, which looks like I'm doing it in the dark, but we're in a nice Airbnb that just doesn't have great lighting. If you can remember these words really in anything, sustainability. I want to get in better shape. Okay, I'm going to start going to the gym once a week, or I'm going to start by just weighing myself, or I'm going to start by making sure I'm drinking enough water. Okay, consistency. Now that I've done that once a week for a month, now I'm going to do it twice a week for 2 months. And then I'm going to do it 3 times a week for 3 months. Consistency based in sustainability. And then improvement. How do I improve my exercises? How do I improve the workflow so I have my clothes in the car after work and I can just drive straight to the gym? How do I improve my diet a little bit? How do I improve my knowledge on fitness? That is the name of the game. And there's a lot of people that I think are overcomplicating this. And I think the other thing too is everybody has their own methods, but a lot of people have their methods that they want to sell you. I can't sell you sustainability, consistency, and improvement, nor do I want to, because I want you to win at the end of the day. That's why I do the show. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. That's why I do this show, because this is the show that I would have wanted when I was an early podcaster. So I am here for it. I hope you are here for it too. Podcast Growth Nation. If you are interested in a free call, I will have my information in the show notes. Again, I'm not going to sell you on anything. I just want to add as much value as I can. It helps me understand the audience at a deeper level. And if I understand the audience at a deeper level, I can add more value through the episodes, through the titles, through the themes, through what I'm sharing. So I would love to chat with you if you are interested. And as always, shout out to Next Level Podcast Solutions. That is one of the sides of the company that I head, and our thing really is helping people with their podcasts. Nobody starts a podcast. Well, I won't say nobody, but most people don't start podcasts because they want to edit audio and video. If you need any help with that, I guarantee it's much cheaper than you think, and I guarantee it's much cheaper than anybody else in the industry. Plus, you can get one-on-one coaching with me, going deeper into everything we talk about today. So those will both be in the show notes. Next week, for episode number 22, a reframe on, and this is in quotations, making money from your podcast. I've talked about expectations. I've talked about results. I've talked about a lot of things, but I want to go into a reframe on making money from your podcast. I think a lot of people, I just think a lot of their expectations are off. And I want to just help reframe that. That'll be my goal in episode number 22. I have to go because I got to prepare for the day. But thank you for tuning in. A little on-the-road session of Podcast Growth U. As always, I appreciate you. I love you all. Keep on podcasting.